Yosef is with us. This itself is a tremendous source of chizuk, of inspiration for the Jewish people in Egypt for the next 200 years. While they were there enslaved, they knew that at least the casket of Yosef is here. Even you have the casket of Yosef, so it gives you strength. You know, for us Hasidim living in the United States of America, and many times there is challenging moments, and you don't know how it's going to be and what's going to happen, and how we're going to survive, Yiddishkeit-wise, physical-wise. But we know that the fact that the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, are buried in America, this itself is a source of comfort. You feel like you're close, with them. They are in the area, they are around. So it gives you a little extra encouragement to know that, you're not alone. You're not alone. The story begins Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim 17 years. The famous Baal HaTurim, the famous commentator on the Rashi's grandson, writes in his commentary on the Chumash, 17 begimatria tov, that the number 17 equals the value of the word tov. Tov in Hebrew means good, which is indicating that Yaakov lived these good years. How old was Yaakov when he passed away, anybody?
110.
Yosef was 110.
No, 176.
No.
And he had gone for
147.
Why do we have to fight? Let's just take a look on the verse.
147.
So turn your page to 244.
When he came down to Egypt and Pharaoh asked him, how old are you? He said 130.
Oh, yeah, 17.
Plus 17, so
Right. So you know that
147.
147 years. Yes, sir.
We're agreed? Good.
So 147, and his best years, from 147, the Tov Shana, the best years of Yaakov was actually in Egypt, because he was surrounded with his entire family. Everybody was there, all the way from Reuben, all the way to Binyamin, and he saw children, grandchildren. Last week we read Yaakov is coming down to Egypt, and the Torah gave us the number of the family. How many were there all together? 70. 69. They became 70 once they entered. They crossed the border. There was another birth in the family. Yocheved was born. Right? The mother of Moshe was born just as they crossed the border. So they were 69, but they are counted already as 70.
So he was a legal immigrant because he crossed the border.
Ooh.
But how they got born?
She.
She.
Yeah.
Undocumented.
Yeah.
And then she gave birth, and it became 70, but from this 70 became hundreds of thousands. As we see later, years later, they are traveling out of Egypt, 600,000, just the number of the men, and onward and onward. Before Yaakov dies, and this is what I want to discuss tonight, before Yaakov died, Yosef and his two sons are coming over to receive a special blessing. So there's one blessing that Yosef gives them that Yaakov gives them, and this is the way the blessing works. Is Yosef is bringing over both kids before Yaakov. And the way he positions them is that Ephraim is on the left side of Yaakov, meaning Ephraim is in the right side of Yosef, and Menashe is in the left side of Yosef. But when you stand before Yaakov, we're sitting on his chair, So Yaakov's right hand is going to go over the older one, which is Menashe. And his left hand is going to go over the younger one, which is Ephraim. That's why they are positioned facing him. Ephraim is on the left, facing Yaakov. Ephraim is on the right, facing Yaakov, which gets the left hand. And Menashe is on the left, which gets the right hand. This is the way they are positioned. What happens is, Yaakov in the other end turns his hand in such a manner which he ends up having his right hand on the younger one, Ephraim, and the left hand on the older one, which is Menashe. Yosef is trying to correct his father, perhaps. Perhaps maybe the father doesn't realize that the right really belongs to the older one, and the older one is Menashe. And Yaakov tells them, Yosef, Yaznaya, I understand. I know that Menashe is the firstborn, but nevertheless, Ephraim deserves the stronger hand, the right hand. And he tells them why. So let's just read two of the verses and see and try to understand what is actually the discussion, so to speak, between Menashe and Ephraim. Why does between Yosef and Yaakov. So turn to page 272. On top of the page, you see in verse 13, it says, Vayikach Yosef et shneim et Ephraim biyamino mismol Yisrael et Menashe b'shmolo miyamin Yisrael vayagesh elav. Yosef took the two of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Israel's left. Israel is obviously Yaakov, and Menashe with his left to Israel's right. And he drew close to him. What happens, says verse 14, Vayishlach Yisrael et yemino, Vayoshes al rosh Ephraim, vehu hatzayir, ve'et smolo al rosh Menashe. Sikel et yadav. Ki Menashe abhor. Israel extended his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, though he was the younger one, and his left hand on Menashe's head. He what? Sikel. How did it translate in English? Sikel. You see it? He maneuvered. Is that the right reading? Mm-hmm. He maneuvered his hands. For Menashe was the firstborn. He gave him a very beautiful blessing, a blessing that we say every time we bless our children. המלאך הגואל אותי מכל רע יברך את הנערים ויקרא בהם שמי בשם אבותיי אברהם ויצחק ויתגו לרוב בקרב הארץ. The angel should protect you. A blessing that we always share. Comes verse 17. The verse says, Yosef saw that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, and it displeased him. Vayera beinav. What does Vayera beinav means? He was displeased. He was not happy with what he saw. His father is doing something, and he understands that what his father is doing is not because the father is, God forbid, senile, or maybe doesn't realize. The father was Yaakov, the great tzaddik, a person that till the last moment of his life wasn't maneuvering in any way without doing the right thing the way God wants him to behave. Merkava le'eloku, the Kabbalah said he was like a chariot to God. That's the Kabbalistic expression about the patriarchs. They were chariots. A chariot only goes where the rider takes him. They never deviated from their connection and following God's way. So if Yaakov wants Menashe to get his left hand, Obviously, there's a reason, but in Yosef's eyes, Vayera, was displeased. And not only was he displeased, he's taking action. What does he do? Take a look. So he supported his father's hand to remove it from upon Ephraim's head to Menashe's head. ויתמוך יד אביו להסיר אותה מעל ראש אפרים על ראש מנשה. He's about to take off his hand. He like takes his father's hand, a hand of a 147-year-old man, lifts it up a little, and is about to slowly maneuver it towards the head, which in his mind deserves the right hand, which is the head of Menashe. So first he is in his mind displeased, then he's actually taking action by expressing why things should be different, and then on verse 18 he actually verbalizes, he explains his father, what am I doing? Look at verse 18, Vayomer Yosef el Aviv, lo chen avi. Yosef said to his father, not so, father, ki ze abchor. This is the firstborn. Sim yemincha al rosho. So he lifts up his hand, and while he's lifting up his father's hand, he says, Dad, you're not doing it right. Lo chen, it's not right. Menashe deserves the right hand. That's how he's moving his hand over. What is Yaakov's response? Says verse 19, number 1, Vayemo'ein aviv. But his father refused. I guess I'm reading the word Vayemo'ein means he refused to allow his hand to be moved. Right? That's the way I read it. Or at least he refused to accept his son's reasoning. Vayomer, and he says, now Yaakov is speaking. And what did he say? Yadati bni yadati. I don't think I'm a bottle. Don't think I don't know what's going on. Yadati, he says twice yadati. Yadati bni yadati. I know, my son, I know. You don't have to tell me. I know that Menashe is the firstborn. Gam hu yeh le'am. V'gam hu yigdal. You're right. Menashe will become a great people. And Menashe will become great. There's all kinds of greatness which is awaiting for Menashe to happen. And as the commentaries explain, from Menashe came out the famous judge, the leader Gidon, which was a famous warrior in the battles over the land of Israel, the story in Tanakh. I know it. But ve'ulam, yet he tells them, let me tell you why I'm putting my right hand on the little one. Ochi v'kotoin yigdal mimenu. But his younger brother shall become greater than him. V'zaro iyem eloy hagoyim, and his offspring's fame will fill the nations. Everybody is going to hear about Ephraim's children and Ephraim's family. He needs that extra bracha. He needs my stronger hand, my right hand, because he is going to do something that Menashe is not going to do. So he needs the bracha that Menashe doesn't need. We all know that who came out of Ephraim, the successor of Moshe. Who was Moshe's successor? Yehoshua ben Nun, the one who led the Jews into the land. Moshe took them till entering the land, but once they came to the actual entering the land, God told Moshe, Atkan, you got to come up with me. Who actually transferred the people from the desert and to become a nation with their own land, and who led all the wars in conquering the land originally. That was Ephraim's grandson, Yeshua ben Nun. And his job was involving great miracles to a point that he had to stop the moon for 26 hours. Those who remember, we learned that the week of Hanukkah, we gave a shir about the 26 hours, and we spoke about the moon who stopped. He stopped first the sun, Shemesh begivon dom, veyareach be'emek ayalon. He stopped the sun, he stopped the moon. The sun should not set because he still needed a couple more hours into his war. This was very miraculous types of behavior in order to ensure the success of the war. And then he gives them both a blessing. Vayevarachem vayumu leimor, B'cho yevorech Yisrael, by you shall all Israel be blessed. And this is what every Jew is going to tell his children, Yesimcha likim ke'Ephraim u'ke'Menashe. We always bless our children who may God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. This is the story. The obvious question here is, what is really going on? If Ephraim deserves and has something which Menashe doesn't have, so why isn't Ephraim the firstborn? Why wasn't he the firstborn? Let him be the Bechor. Right? Could have been differently. Or why couldn't Menashe, being the firstborn, have the qualities which Ephraim will have? Why does it have to work in such a way that Menashe is really the firstborn? And Yaakov acknowledges him as the firstborn. But then he considers Ephraim to be on his own right, a so-called firstborn. Obviously, Yaakov never disagreed with Yosef that if you want to speak about being the firstborn, the Bechor, the right goes to who? To Menashe. There's no question that that's the case. But still, he believed that he wanted to emphasize that there is something about Ephraim, which at a certain level, Ephraim becomes a firstborn on his own right, even though he wasn't the firstborn. It's as if to say, they are each considered a firstborn on their own right. One, Menashe is firstborn because he was biologically a firstborn. He came out first of the womb of his father, Yosef, and Yosef's wife, Osnas, obviously. He was a firstborn to the parents. And Ephraim is also considered a firstborn as far as a certain quality and values that he has as a firstborn. We discussed it previous years. I'm going to soon go back to what we discussed in the previous years. I'm sure those who were here remember, and I'm going to refresh your memory a little bit. But I want to read for you a small piece from a very holy book called Noam Elimelech. You know who the Noam Elimelech was? The Noam Elimelech was a colleague of the Alter Rebbe of Shneur Zalman. He was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich. And the Maggid's students were given so-called property. Property, I mean geographical areas to bring the teachings of Hasidus. And we know that one of the great geographical areas which became almost completely, entirely Hasidic later was Poland. There was a lot of Rebbes in Poland. The Rebbe of all the Rebbes in Poland was the Rebbe Elimelech. They call him the Rebbe Elimelech, the Rebbe Remailach, the Rebbe Elimelech of Lizensk. This book was printed in the year Tov Kuf Mem Chet. This goes back exactly 230 years ago. This is just about the time that the Tanya was printed. Matter of fact, by Hasidim, they refer to the Tanya, that Alter Rebbe himself calls the Tanya the book of the Beinani. The old work of the Alter Rebbe is built on the concept that there is a tzaddik, the righteous person, there is the Rasha, the wicked person, and then there is the Beinani, which literally is translated as the intermediary person. But the Alter Rebbe comes with the old philosophy that the intermediary person is not a person who has half good and half bad. He's not a 50-50 kind of guy. He's a complete person, but he's not yet a tzaddik. And that's what the Tanya is all about, describing and discussing the Beinani. The Alter Rebbe wanted everyone and expected everybody to be a Beinani. Beinani is translated in English as intermediary. So the book of Tanya is called what? Sefer Shel Beinonim. But Hasidim they say that the Tanya is called the book of Beinoni. The Noya Milimelech is Sefer Shel Tzadikim. This is the book of the Tzadikim. A book that is not always easy to understand, and written sometimes messages in a very transcending, uplifting type of message. But I will share with you a few lines when he discusses regarding Menashe and Ephraim. Okay, so we'll the shtikal Ephraim Elimelech. Listen to that. You're going to be with me for a few minutes because I'm going to read and translate. Okay? This name Elimelech is actually referred to by the Rebbe, our Rebbe, when he discusses Ephraim and Menashe, is in one of the footnotes, he sends us to this name Elimelech to get a further idea about Menashe and Ephraim. Let's make sure I have the right one. Yeah. So he says as follows. I'm reading and translating, so you have to bear with me. I don't like usually to do it, but I think it's going to help me to help you to understand what he says. So let's go slow. Ach nire, it seems to me, he writes, she'iker machshevet Yaakov Avinu alav hashalom. What was the main agenda of Yaakov with this whole story of the blessings and exchanging his hands? Hoyo it was lehamshich leYisrael acharov kol hayomim ashpos ve'abrochos kulam liyoisom kayomim tomid. It wasn't just an individual blessing to Menashe and Ephraim. The story of Menashe and Ephraim is a story where Yaakov, our forefather Yaakov, is looking to bring out blessings for the Jewish people then and for all of us in the future, for all the rest of the generations. This is not just a bracha for a Einikel, for a grandson Menashe and a grandson Ephraim. ורוצו להמשיך על ידי בייס צדיקים הללו אפרים ומנשה. The way he's going to keep that blessing coming for all future generations is through, they are the conduits. These two tzadikim, these two righteous boys, Menashe and Ephraim, they are the channels to which the bracha, the blessing, is going to come to us, for the rest, for eternity. How so? First of all, he says, that's why the Pasuk says, Becha yevarech Yisrael leimor, yesimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim ke'Menashe. And the verse says, that Yaakov says, by you shall Israel be blessed. So it doesn't just mean literally that Israel will bless each other, let you offspring be like Ephraim and Menashe. But it means even deeper. By you, Israel will be blessed. It means literally But you too, Ephraim and Manasseh, you are going to be the source of blessing for Israel for all generations to come. B'chai Yevarech Israel. Forever. Who is Ephraim and Manasseh? So he says as follows. What's the reason? Atam. Lama dafka al yedei elu atzadikim. Why is it these two tzaddikim, Ephraim and Manasseh? First of all, if you need a tzaddik, if you need a blessing to go to the channel of a righteous person, you can use one righteous person. Why you need two? And if there is two, is there anything different between what Manasseh, what Ephraim represents, and what Manasseh represents? Is there two types of tzaddikim? Is there anything different in their righteousness? Are they involved in other things, one from the other? So he says, yes. Ha'olam tzarich tamid leshtei minei tzaddikim. The world always needs two types of tzaddikim. One, or echad, u'sheyachshov tamid be'olamot ha'elyonim u'bayichudim leosif or tamid lemala lemala. ואחד, לחשוב בצורכי עולם, מה שהעולם צריכים, פרנסה וברכה וחיים ושאר הצטרכותם. He says you need to have one tzaddik that is completely preoccupied and is constant conscious is what's happening in the higher worlds. As we spoke many times, the higher world is a world, the reality of the higher world is the revelation of godliness. And there too, there's a whole to do. The increase of energy, the additional light, and onward and onward. And you have one type of tzaddik who lives with us, and he is completely busy entirely with taking care of the higher worlds. His mind, his act, his awareness, his consciousness is all about what's happening up there. The spheros, the worlds, one helping, supporting, pouring from one vessel to another. This is involved in completely and entirely in the world of spirituality. He has no belonging, he has no connection, no whatsoever with what's going on in this world. Then there's another type of tzaddik. The tzaddik that is constantly preoccupied with the needs of the people. He is busy making God aware what the community needs. Parnasa, shidduchim, children, shalom bayis. That's what he's completely preoccupied. How do we make sure that the people live a life which their needs are fulfilled? Their needs are provided. By the way, these two tzaddikim always existed. Even in our history, there were tzaddikim, that was their job. They were always looking after others. Always wanting to find out, traveling from village to village, finding out if people are in need, if they are suffering or they are not suffering, if they need. The people have to be released of jail. The people have to be provided with blessed with parnasa. And then there is other tzaddik. But their mind is involved in the higher worlds, in making sure that everything is okay there. It's not always the same tzaddik. Remember many times the Rabbi used to say a story that the Alter Rebbe, the night of Yom Kippur, suddenly left synagogue. I think we saw it on the video here on the night. You remember me at Fabregan? And we saw the way the Rebbe is telling this story. Those who weren't here, the Alter Rebbe was in the middle of Yom Kippur. The holiest day of the year, the holiest person is in the middle of the holiest service, took off his talis and he left the synagogue because he sensed there was a woman who is in need. There was a woman who gave birth, and the family went to shul, and they left the nether. And she was in great need for something more. On Yom Kippur, the Rebbe came in, chopped some wood, kindled a fire. This is all prohibited activities on Yom Kippur, but it's kosher if you do it to save a life. And he put up a soup, so this lady, this mother who gave birth, should have what to eat and survive your struggle with your birth. This is a tzaddik that somehow is connected all the way up the earth, but at the same time, he senses what happens in the end of the village. It's a whole different story. But generally, the world is divided into two separate tzaddikim. If you read stories of tzaddikim, if you read stories of Rebbes, so you're going to find there was this Rebbe who was always traveling and always helping and always assisting people. And there was the Rebbes that you only read about their holiness, their kedusha, their separation, their detachment from any worldly matters, right? Always removed and concentrating in their religious services. Says the Rabbi Melech, with these two tzaddikim, this is how the world is lasting. And that's what he wanted, Yaakov, is to draw the blessing for all future generations to these two types of tzaddikim. What was the job about these two tzaddikim? So he says, this was Menashe and Ephraim. Menashe הבכור היה במדרגתו לעלות תמיד ממדרגה למדרגה ולא לחשוב בענייני העולם הזה כלל. Menashe, the firstborn, he was living a life of spirit, climbing the ladder from level to level, level to level, completely removing himself and not considering anything of this worldly needs. Ephraim, the younger one, לא היה כל כך הולך במדרגות, כי אם היה חשב תמיד המשכת השפעה על ישראל. Ephraim was always busy. How can we benefit the community? How can we help? And how can we bring more brachot, more blessings, and more good things should come for Am Yisrael? What else can we give them? You know, it says in certain holy books that when Yitzchak saw Rivka, he veiled himself. She put a scarf around her. She put a scarf. What is the scarf called in Hebrew in the Chumash? Saif. Tzadik, Ayin, Yud, Pei. That's what the Torah calls it in Parsha told us. What was Yitzchak doing when Rivka saw him the first time? What was Yitzchak doing? He was praying mincha, right? He was praying mincha. She saw him, and right away she put a scarf. She veiled herself. So there is all kinds of reasoning for the veiling because of the modesty, veiling because of the bride is also veiled before they actually get married and so on. But in Hasidic books, they give us a very, very special insight about this scarf that she was putting on. The Torah calls that scarf Tzaif. Tzaif is not just a scarf. Tzaif is also an acronym. Rashei Tevot of 4 words in Hebrew. Tzadik, Ayin, Yud, Pei, right? Tzadik means tzrichim. Ayin is Am. Yud, Israel. Pei is Parnasa. Tzrichim, Am Israel, Parnasa. the Jewish people need sustenance. What she meant to do is, while you're praying, and Yitzchak was this type of tzaddik who was very into the first type, like Menashe. He was secluded, he was removed, he was not like Abraham, a traveler. And she saw that he is like involved in the service of prayer. She put on the tzaif, she put on the scarf to remind them that when you pray, keep in mind that there are people in need. Tzrichim Amcha Yisrael Parnasa, which is the Rashi Tevot Tzaif. And there were actually Hasidic rabbis, matter of fact in Poland, who always wore a scarf. You see, I even saw the Rebbe of Gur. There were others who kept on wearing a scarf, even in the summer. But it was to symbolize the idea that they should always have in their mind the awareness that people are in need. Tzarchei Amcha Yisrael, the needs of the community. Menashe and Ephraim, says the Noam Elimelech, were two different tzaddikim. One was involved in spiritual gains, in the spiritual world. The other one was considering himself with the needs of the world. Yosef thought, says the Noam Elimelech, what was Yosef's mindset? He thought that since Menashe is so involved in the so-called world of kavanah, meditation and dedication, so he said, no, let's get him first. Let him get first. My father, he deserves my father's right side. It's enough that he gets my right side, meaning Yosef is standing facing the father, so he has Yosef's right side, but when it comes to Yaakov, which is for the main blessing, he should get the right side because he's the more significant, the more important one. ולא כן היה דעת יעקב אבינו עליו השלום. But Yaakov Avinu did not think the same. Adrab. Yaakov thought different. לפי שהיה אפרים הצעיר לכך שיקל את ידיו לברכו בימין, כי זה היה עיקר פעולת יעקב. What was Yaakov's main intention? להיטיב אחריו לדורותיו שיהיו מוזמנים כל טוב בהשפעה ורחמים, זה היה בדרגת אפרים. Yaakov Avinu is a good Rebbe. He said, Yosef, I understand exactly what you want, but I want to tell you I know better. What's more important is to make sure that we should always have good. And he goes on and explains.
Are the descendants of Manasseh one of the lost tribes?
Yes, he was actually elevated to the status of tribe by his grandfather Yaakov, both Manasseh and Ephraim. They were Einiklak, they were grandchildren, they weren't children, but he gave them the status of children in this week's Parsha.
And they are now in India.
There is all kinds of theories. They have a Menashe, they have a group, they call themselves the Menasheites.
Right, 7,000 of them
immigrated to Israel. Like they live in Beersheba or somewhere in the south.
And there's still about 12,000 left there.
Right.
When did they
When did it happen?
It happened years ago. They have a community called the Menasheites.
Yes.
I had an Indian neighbor in Eilat.
What?
I had an Indian neighbor in Eilat.
In Eilat. I have thousands of Indian neighbors in Bellevue.
Yeah.
They all work for Microsoft.
My son told me, when was it? Yesterday or today? Yesterday, one of my kids, what was it? Maybe Shmuley, I think, said, I think we should make a trip to visit India. I said, we are traveling to Seattle now, it's okay. There's no need for a trip.
So are all the Jewish Indians in Israel from that community?
I don't
No.
know. I don't know. I know that there are Indian Jews who consider themselves Menashites.
Oh, this is nice.
Oh, here we have a Jew from India. No, are you from Menashe? You know for sure.
No, Venezuela.
We are called Bnei Israel. There are 4 different types of Jews in India.
Okay, that's
You
it.
have the Bnei Israel, which the legend is we were there for 2,000 years. Since
Which
the-
tribe?
We don't know. We
Okay.
don't know. Then you have the Kochini Jews, which are in the south. They say they may have come from Persia or from somewhere there. They don't know. Again, this is hundreds of years ago.
Did they live a Jewish lifestyle?
Yeah, and most of them are immigrated in Moshav Nevatim in near Beersheba.
Okay.
And then you have the Baghdadi Jews, which are the Jews that the British brought to India from Iraq.
On the Silk Road.
Yes.
On the Silk
Uh-huh.
Road, yeah. Burma Road or Silk Road. And then you have the Bnei Menashe, which were just found like maybe 20 years ago.
So when you grew up in India, they were not non-Menashites?
No, we didn't know about that.
Interesting.
But the Bnei Menashe,
But Arnold,
they are completely, though they were completely cut off from
From the Jewish
world,
community.
but they kept everything kosher. and
That's
stuff
what I
like
heard.
that.
There was a Jew here. I met a Jew
Yeah.
in the hospital. I once got a call from the hospital in Evergreen to come visit a Jew. His name was Avram Nelson. And I came in and he looked exactly like any other of our neighbors here in the neighborhood. Very nice, quiet, and the same, like I wouldn't have never think that he is Jewish. And he was very sick, but I was able to speak to him. I put him on tefillin. And then he passed away as a young boy, a young man. Was working for Microsoft, and he came from Cochin.
Yeah.
Are you from Cochin? No. He came from Cochin, and his mother are from the last Jews in Cochin. They have a nice big community in Netivot in Israel. And when he passed away, just before he passed away, his mother came and his brother. This was from the last Jews in Cochin, but she remembered, and her uncle, I think, was the last rabbi of Cochin in India, and she remembered like a live, big community in Cochin, but they weren't Menashites, they were considered like other Jews. Anyway, so what is Yaakov saying? Yaakov saying, look, I'm more interested in the well-being of the people, and I need Ephraim to get the right end. This is my consideration. So when you read this, you realize that this whole exchange between Yaakov and Yosef was not about who is firstborn and who is going to be more successful at the time, but rather it's clearly about a message which is being carried through the generations to come. What we're going to need more. We're going to need them both, but who is going to need the more influence? And the more influence is coming from a Jew like Ephraim. The Rebbe explains the same idea, but with a little bit further. Menashe, why was he called Menashe? Why was his name Menashe? Remember the name Menashe for?
yes,
I
I
don't
remember
forget.
reading about it.
So I don't forget.
Oh. Menashe ki nashani elikim es kalamoli beisovi. Menashe says, I am in a place which is very easy for me to forget where I came from. The household of my family and my father. And Yaakov was actually looking for something to keep him connected to the past. And that's why he called him Menashe, ki noshani elikim es kalamoli. And then he had a second child, and he named him what? Ephraim. What does the word Ephraim come from? Ki frani Elokim be'eretz oni. I was fruitful in the land of my sorrow. In other words, the two names, the Rebbe explains, represent two different accomplishments in Yaakov and in his children. I'm sorry, in Yosef and to Yosef in his children. In the one hand is Yosef looking and trying to consider, in the one hand is looking and is trying to consider what was in my past, where did I come from? Yosef was in Egypt 20 plus years old by himself. What kept him going? What kept him going was always remembering who his father is, who his mother was, who Zayda was, who was his father. And when he gave birth and he realized that that's what kept him, so he named the first child Menashe, don't make me forget where I come from. In the other end, he also realized that he was very accomplished. He built a life in Egypt. He was able to have influence in Egypt. And he gave his second child the name Ephraim, representing and reflecting his accomplished life in Egypt. And now comes Yaakov. And here's where the debate comes. It's an ideological debate. For a man like Yosef, what is most important for him in order to succeed in his life in Egypt? Is it more important to be inspired and reflect about where you came from? Or is it more important to realize that you are very successful and you're able to make a change even in a place like Egypt? Yosef felt that for him the most important thing is to hold himself to the past, to keep on strong connection to his roots. So he was always priding himself with his firstborn son Menashe. Menashe wasn't just a firstborn child. Menashe represented the idea of what keeps me going and why am I who I am, able to preserve my righteousness even in Mitzrayim, because I'm a Menasheite. I never allow myself to forget where I come from. And when he represents himself to Yaakov through his children, who does he want Yaakov to put his right hand on? On the tzaddik Menashe, carrying the same message. I want you to know, and I want the generations to come to know, that what's going to keep us going is our connection to the past, our ties to our roots. Yaakov says, Yosef, I know, I understand you, but I come from a different point. Yaakov says, from my point of view, you know what you should keep you going? Your accomplishments. Ifrani Elokim be'eretz oni. You're in a world of sorrow. You're in a very forsaken country called Mitzrayim, Erva Sa'ora, the depth of the land. You almost had no chance. And take a look. You married. You created a family. You're running the business of the country. You're in charge. You're responsible. You become the mefarnes, the sustainer for all of us. That should be your inspiration. That should keep you all going. Who is right? Who is right?
Both.
Both, all right.
Yesh bitui, I tell you there. Yesh bitui.
Shema.
If you know where you came from, you know where you're going.
I always say it. That's right.
And it comes from the Torah, I see now.
But here is where you see that Menashe is on the right and Yosef is on, and Ephraim is on the right. They are both on the right. Menashe is on the right of Yaakov. Ephraim is on the right of Yosef. They are both on the right. It's not that the one is on the right and one on the left. If you look from here, Menashe is on the right. If you look facing east, Ephraim is on the right. Because they're both right and they're both left. Because we need them both. We always have to know where we come from, and we always have to also reflect on what we are here. part of the day, we start our prayers, we say, Elokeinu, Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, right? We keep on mentioning the Zetas, the Babbas. And then we say what we are. What we are. What we are accomplishing. And this is really, in essence, what the Noam Elimelech is saying. The Noam Elimelech puts it in his own message, but it's the same idea. What does it say? There is a tzaddik which is thinking about the higher worlds, and then there is a tzaddik which his job is to be preoccupied with the needs of this world. This is Menashe and Ephraim. Being preoccupied with the higher worlds, meaning you always look up, where do I come from? What's my connection to higher and above? And then there is the second tzaddik which is concerned about the needs of this world, is what's happening down below. That's Ephraim. And this is the two tzaddikim. Vezeu she'omar Yaakov, Yodaiti b'ni Yodaiti. I know that Menashe is busy with great things. His brother is busy with great things too. Both are involved with great things. The ashpa'ah, the influence that God brings to the world, goes through both of these two people. You need them both. But what I am more excited about is what you do in this world. That should be your inspiration. But I understand where you come from. And the truth is, for a guy like Yosef, to be alone in Egypt, the only way he survived because he was a Menasheite. He kept on thinking, where I come from? And for Yaakov, who was in Eretz Yisrael, for him, the great nachas was to see that while being in Egypt, he was able to create a world of spirituality, a world of accomplishment through his service.
So this is about the firstborn and the secondborn, who's the firstborn. Looking at page 275, bottom, this is where Jacob is talking about his children, and he says, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength.
Right, this is already the next part. By verse 1, they finished the meeting with the... Till now was a meeting between grandpa and grandchildren.
Right.
In verse 1, Yaakov sums a new meeting, this time only his sons,
Right.
and Reuven is the firstborn, yes.
But then he says, even though you're the firstborn, you're not...
Exactly, because there's a story.
So, but what does he mean when he says, you cannot be foremost because you mounted your father's bed, then you desecrated him, who ascended my couch?
There was a story.
Is that when he was naked?
No.
His,
Naked was Noah.
No.
There wasn't.
His-
No, this is right after.
What happened was, the father was going to come home and spend the night with Rachel. I'm sorry, with Leah.
Yeah.
And Rachel, so-called, purchased the night by...
something to do with the
Yeah.
clouds or
But where
something.
does Reuben come
It's
into?
the opposite, actually.
the opposite, you're right.
But where does Reuben come into?
Because what the
No, I think this happened later.
What happened later?
I think this happened right after Rachel died, and he comes back to his
Oh yeah,
his one of the concubine wives.
right, Bila.
Yes, and that's when
Right,
he was going to be with her, and
right.
said, "Oh no, you're going to be with my mother."
Right. He wanted to be with the concubine, and he slept with the mother. You're right. Anyway, I want to remind everyone as follows. Tomorrow is the 10th of Tevet. That's when the king of Babylonia placed Jerusalem under siege. That's the first of the 4 traditional fasts which mourns the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. 10th of Tevet, then the 17th of Tammuz, the Tisha B'Av, and Tzom Gedalia. But Tisha B'Av is the only fast which is 24 hours. The 10th of Tevet is a short fast, it's only a day fast, especially here in the winter it's very short. The fast will end tomorrow at 5 p.m. and it starts at 6:15 a.m. If you decide to get up tomorrow before 6:15 and have a coffee, it's kosher. And to eat, it's kosher. So you can eat something and drink something. It's still going to be before dawn. And as long as it's before dawn, you're allowed to eat and drink like you're allowed to have dinner tonight. And then you can start fasting easier. We're going to have morning services at 7 and mincha at 4 p.m. followed by Ma'ariv, and then the end of the fast at 5. Other than that, I wish you all a good Shabbos and a good week. And I believe that it's coming up the second of New Year. When is that?
What?
Monday.
New Year's.
Sunday night.
Monday?
Sunday night, Monday.
Which year are we entering? 2018?
Yes, we are.
Bless you all. Yes.
It seems to me the Rebbe had a dual personality. He was concerned about Germany.
Menashe and Ephraim. Is that what I said?